So why are we here? Why are we here at the Van Lee Institute? Well, the Van Lee Institute is a leading intellectual centre for the interdisciplinary study and discussion related to philosophy, society, culture, education, and democracy. The Institute gives expression to a wide range of opinions in Israel, and it takes a particular pride as an incubator and a creative home for the most important civil society efforts to deepen Israeli democracy. And we're also next door to the president. We're also walking distance from the Knesset. And I look to present Sharren Haskel, Member of Parliament. She's been very active in the cannabis industry, but cannabis ecosystem, but more than that, an advocate for democracy, for human rights, for environmental rights. Currently, she serves on the Science and Technology Committee, the Special Committee for Public Petitions, the Special Committee on Drug and Alcohol Abuse, the Special Committee for Transparency and Accessibility, the Foreign Affairs and Defence Committee, and she's also, very importantly for us, the chairwoman for the Lobby for Medical Cannabis. I now invite you to the stage.
Thank you very much. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I know the main topics of discussions were about the medical cannabis and the industry, medicine, research, but I want to touch a bit of a different point of view, and this is a point of as from a lawmaker in the representative house. And I think one of the biggest problem in advancing research, medicines in the whole in the whole world, that is to regard to the cannabis world, is the perception and the label that cannabis has all around the world, and this is because the law today in Israel and in many other countries says that anyone that used cannabis, first of all they compare it to any other drug, as harsh drug as heroin or any other abusive drug, ecstasy, LSD. The law is equal to those drugs and to cannabis as well. It means that if you were caught even one time using cannabis, you will have a criminal record that will be opened here in Israel, and you might sit in jail as well up to 20 years. And this is the law here just on self-use. And we need to understand cannabis is different than the other drugs. There's different effects. Not just that there's no overdosing and deaths from cannabis, just the plant, and not that there's like a physical addiction like to other drugs, but it actually has a lot of beneficial use as well in the medicine world. And this is why we need to label it in a different way than any other drug. The law today creates this perception. It creates this stigma, not just on the drug, but also on people that use it. I mean, people who use it for medical use or use it for as recreational drugs, they are labeled the same way. And so the way they label them is as criminals, as drug addicts, people who sit in jail, and this whole picture of the patient as well of cannabis is being equaled to people with very difficult and hard problem of drug abuse. Now, once we label them this way, it causes a problem not just for an industry that comes and try to promote research about diseases and how to help people in need, but it also affects people who actually need the cannabis as a treatment. It means that usually they will not go and tell to to their co-workers that they need this medicine. They will not go out and say it to many people, because and this causes a major barrier as well, because the more people use it as a medicine, the more people tell their own personal story about how it changed their life, the more the government and society view cannabis in a different way, as a medical prescribed medicine, as a treatment to disease that don't have any other treatment, as a treatment to different disease that doesn't have any side effects. And one of the laws that I put in the last few months was decriminalization of the cannabis here in Israel. Thank you. And I think this is one of the first steps to realize that to change this whole stigma. And this the whole decriminalization of cannabis, it didn't start in Israel. It started in many different places, and we actually benefit from it because we can actually learn from it and research from it. More so, I guess you are all probably aware, in April there's going to be a big convention in the UN that's going to review the criminalization and the whole look on how we view cannabis and drugs in general. And the world is advancing into a modern realization. It means that not just cannabis, but almost even harsher drugs. If we take people who use drugs, even the ones who are addicted to some of the hardest drugs, and put them behind bars in prison, we don't turn them into functional members of society, people who can contribute to us, or we don't help them to get out of this situation. On the contrary, putting them behind bars, labeling them as criminals, does the exact opposite. And so we need to approach this way in a different way. We need to educate. We need to build better facilities for rehabilitations. We need to raise awareness. And so this is some of the steps that almost all of the worlds, and in the UN convention as well in April, are going to be discussed. What are the benefits of criminalization and how the world is going to treat it next. Now, the law that I put in actually eliminates what it says, that anyone who's been caught using cannabis for self-use only in public will get a fine. And all other laws on trading, on, how do you call it? Sorry, sachar? Trade, okay. Trading drugs, pushing drugs, all of these crimes will stay as they are today. But offenses on self-use of cannabis, people will not get records, criminal records, and will not sit in prison because of it. Today in Israel, we have, from a research that was done in 2009, there's about 12,000 records that were opened to normal citizens just on self-use of cannabis. It means that all of these people in Israel, when they want to go and get a job, for example, in one of the ministries, as a lawyer or a doctor, they need to get a certificate of a clean record. They can't do that. It means that once they were caught even once, their life is changed. They cannot work in any of these these jobs in Israel. More so, they are facing, there's about, from the same research in 2009-10, there were about 500 people who were put behind bars for up to a year. And this is not on offenses of dealing with drugs or anything like that. This is just offenses of self-use of cannabis. There's this one case. There's a few cases of people who came to me and searched for assistance in it. But one of the cases that is actually dealt in court at the moment as well, because there's an appeal on it. I apologize for my English mistakes. Is someone who actually requested medical cannabis for treatment of their own disease and was refused by the government. So he started using it by himself illegally, and now he's facing court and he might actually sit in jail. There's another case of someone 5 years ago, not 5 years, I think it was about 3 years ago. He was put in jail for 3 years for self-use from the same reason. He had a disease, he needed to treat it. He was caught with self-use. He was put behind bar. While he was in jail, he received his medical cannabis prescription. It's funny, but this is 3 years of someone's life. 3 years. And so I think this is part of my way as a lawmaker to come and change the perspective and the stigma about cannabis and make and benefit the citizens. And I want to speak about a little bit about the benefits of the government and the Israeli society to this law. From a research that was done as well, there's about 600 million shekels that goes into enforcing self-use, into the court system, into the jails. This is an enormous amount of money that can go to education, for awareness. About 6% of the criminal records that are opened are on self-use and holding of cannabis. 6%. It's an enormous amount of criminal records that are open. And when we look on other countries who actually passed the decriminalization law, or country that legalized marijuana, we see some benefits as well. And this is some of the misleading information that is being passed all the time. Many people come to me in the Knesset as well, and they say, cannabis, it's a gate drug to more users. But research shows that there's no change in the cannabis use for better or less when you decriminalize it. It shows less accidents, road accidents. And so many of these perceptions are actually built of many lawmakers, and it's normal that they would have these perceptions because society have taught us so long that cannabis, it's a harsh drug. It's really dangerous, and it's been built in our mind. And the law is enforcing these feelings as well. And so it's extremely important for us to change it and to start to change the perspective about it as well. In Israel, they showed that there's about 15% of adult Israeli who use cannabis, not just for medical, but for recreational use as well. This is 1 million Israeli citizens who actually use it. All of them are facing to be criminals. All of them today by law are facing to maybe be put in jail. And one of the things that surprised me as well in other countries, that this research in countries that the decriminalization was passed, was that the government who actually passed this law had a better trust of the citizens between the citizens and the government. It strengthened the bond because today, when 1 million Israeli citizens are facing jails or criminal records about it, a lot of them ask themselves, why are we being chased after? Why do we need to be labeled as criminals? Is this really a dangerous a felony? Do we need to sit with thieves, with rapists, you know? And this is something that I ask myself as well as a lawmaker. Sometimes we need to take a step back and view things and look on the severity of the crime that is being done and what is the actual punishment for it. And if I look at it, I don't think that someone who used cannabis, who's been criminalized, needs to be criminalized for it, needs to be put in jail for it. And so I work extremely hard in the Knesset to come and bring all this information to all the other lawmakers, to all the other member of parliament. Many of these prejudice and misleading information doesn't just affect the public and the lawmaker, but it also affects the ministries as well. And with the cannabis caucus that we've opened in the Knesset to promote the new legislations for medical cannabis, many of the times we find people who sit in these positions that have these labeling and this thinking about cannabis as well. They sometimes treat the patients in this manner of the same as criminals, and it affects their work, and it affects the way the patient feels, and it affects the treatment itself. It also affects the way that how we can or cannot promote different laws or legislations. And I think one of the beautiful things about the caucus is that there's this bridge. There's all these experts in the whole field, and we sit together and we bring together the information and write remarks about what needs to be changed in the legislations that are happening today, in the bills that are being passed today, and we cooperate and work together with the Ministry of Health in order to make it better, in order to improve it. And we join together all of this information. And many of the times we fight as well all these prejudice ideas about cannabis and about the medical use of cannabis. So I'll conclude it. If you want to be also informed in everything that the caucus, the Medical Cannabis Caucus in the Knesset is doing, you can leave your email as well. We inform via email everything that we do and the meeting. Anyone who wants can participate in it as well. And I hope you enjoy today. Thank you very much for coming.